just an older, different time in the wrestling business. So I was used to Vince, and I get pissed off too, but nothing, it is what it is. But one night he was on me to do something, it was, some match was going on, he said, do I say something, you know, like Mick was talking and, say it. I was right on. Say it, God damn it! And there's a headlock, I'll take over, oh, right hand, and a near block. God damn it, you son of a bitch, I said say it.
That's turning on.
And then we get to the finish, and now there's the winner. We'll be back with our main event right after this. Now, when he talks to you, he can push 2 keys so your partner can hear you. So Lawler heard all of it too, and Lawler's going, what are you saying? So he says, this goes on, JR, yes sir? Did you hear me tell you to say it? I sure did. You defied a direct order. We're in the goddamn army here. I said, well, put it that way, I guess I did. He said, well, it's a damn good thing he did because it was a stupid idea. He still gets as a big a fan as anybody else. And sitting in that little grill position back there in the make-ready area, you know, he's rocking in his chair and he's wiggling his legs and he's, you know, he's had about, this is no exaggeration, if he doesn't drink 20 cups of coffee a day, Mick's not wearing the same pants he's had on for the last 3 days. Just a wild guess.
I do pack light.
And the darks. You gotta take the darks, right?
Take the darks, yeah. I was asked a really good question, and I appreciate it. We're kind of free-forming here. So some of you guys might want to formulate a question in just a second, but this young lady asked me if she could interview me. I said, I will do it, but only if you take the time to ask me questions. And I gave her an example of finding something that's important that no one else asks, and that you can actually go up to any celebrity. When I had a chance to work with actor Willem Dafoe, I just said, I am not going to ask this guy about being the Green Goblin in Spider-Man. So I said, you know, Willem, can I ask you a question about a role? Yeah, go ahead. I said, how much training did you have to do for Triumph of the Spirit, where he played a boxer in a Nazi concentration camp? And he was my best friend. Like all these roles, you know, talking about getting into character for Shadow of the Vampire, that everybody has something they want to talk about. So the young lady said to me, she goes, I know you don't curse very much in your shows or in real life, and I once heard you say that the 2 dirtiest words in the English language were what if. And she said, what is your biggest what if? Good question, right? And I said, sometimes I sit there and I think, what if I had been able to realize that Vince's criticisms were not meant to be taken personally? What if I had been able to endure the verbal barrage that he let loose on his announcers? And I think the answer is, if I had been able to do that, JR and I would still be sitting at the announce table today, and we'd be cemented in as a pretty formidable duo. And so that's like one of my regrets, is that I didn't give myself a chance to see what would have happened if I had been able to survive that type of atmosphere. But I hated it, like absolutely hated going to work. And yeah, I think there's a pretty good argument to be made, the idea that people shouldn't have to be subjected to that. But I learned that was the job, and that was what it entailed, and I told Mr. McMahon, you know, that I was not interested in having him. So I felt pretty good about it, too. It was funny because some of you might know the diva Layla. I would walk around when I would return, and she was terrified of me. I couldn't figure out why. And then she said, people would go up and go, why are you scared of Mick Foley? He's like one of the nice. No, I've seen him. I've seen him. And what she saw was me walking through the curtain after one of those shows and cutting a promo that was raw worthy on Mr. McMahon, including the words, I don't care who you are or how much money you have, you don't talk to me like that. And there's Layla just terrified. people didn't talk to Mr. McMahon like that, and it felt really, really good. And then it felt really, really strange where like almost 3 years later, that same voice was on the phone going, "Can I come home now?" And I never, when I returned, never felt the same level of, I don't believe I have a relationship with Mr. McMahon now. And really, that's my what if. What if I'd been able to endure that? I'd probably be a really solid part of Raw or SmackDown. JR and I would be a beloved announcing duo.
And instead I'm peddling barbecue sauce and fresh foods and the 3 Norman Homeland stores.
And who's got a lighthearted question here? We need a little levity here. All right, you know what? I think the guy behind you looks lighter-hearted, and you can ask the next one. Okay, go ahead.
First, I just want to say clarify the job.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah, thank you. Oh, thanks.
I don't know if this is considered lighthearted. It's something you didn't cover. I actually have a question for you, JR.
Sure.
What was it like working for Paul Heyman in ECW? And JR, you're like my hero. What would your...
You should set your goals a little bit higher.
What would your advice be for somebody who wants to be a wrestling broadcaster?
All right, you want me to take on the first part first?
Yeah.
It's 9:15. We're going to have somebody out there be the bad guy. We'll take 3 more questions after this, okay? So otherwise we can go all night, and I don't want to be the bad guy. I love working for Paul because JR is a big believer now, and I've heard JR talk about this and seen time and time again, you know, about scripted interviews. Big believer in just the bullet points and letting people create their own verbiage. And so I've referred to Paul as being like a master gardener. Like he just applies the fertilizer and the sunshine and the water and lets the plant grow on its own. And I remember, you know, I was at a point where I was going to call WCW. I completely abandoned the idea that I'd ever go to WWE. I was making a pretty good living on the independent scene, but I was going to Japan about once a month for 10 days, and I was coming back in some rough shape. A lot of stitches, burns, things like that. And I was thinking about calling WCW to see if I could be an extra on Monday nights, like almost like a glorified extra. And I thought, okay, I got 2 children. Between that and ECW and Japan, I can make a pretty good living. And Paulie said, "Why do you want to do that?" I said, "Because I don't think there's any future in this business for me." And he said, "I'll tell you what," he said, "if you're willing to listen to me and let me show you a way to tap into a dark side in your soul," he said, "you will create interviews so compelling that within 1 year you will get that call you thought would never come from WWE. So not only that, if you allow me to tap into that dark side of your soul within 5 years, you'll be WWE champion." I thought he was crazy. I'll never forget it. He looked at me and he said, and I kid you not, in 20 years, my client, Brock Lesnar, will conquer The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania. I made that part up. I love working for Paul, I really did.
Paul's a good guy. You just don't want Paul doing your taxes. And he'll put a message on his machine. "This is Paul. I can't take your call. Leave your message. I'll call you back in 2 minutes." That message will stay on there for a year. 2 minutes. No matter the night or day, the day of the week, nothing. I'll call you back in 2 minutes. And but he's very, very bright. On the TV side, you know, obviously if I knew everything that you think I know about being a broadcaster, I might be sitting in another chair tonight on Monday, but I'm very happy to be where I am, to be honest with you. I think that I know exactly what WWE is looking for, because the way that I broadcast that fit my style, which may sound egocentric and selfish, is what we did in the Attitude Era and what we did in WCW with NWA and what I did working for Cowboy Bill and the UWF in Mid-South. I was able to tap into the athleticism, the suspension of disbelief, the physicality, and the and the drama and the jeopardy the heroes were in, and made you forget it was showbiz for a little while and take you on a ride. And now the product has been tweaked, it's different. And so I don't know that my style would even really fit well in the WWE's world. But I can tell you what they're going to want. They're going to want a reel. They're going to want you to see you doing things other than wrestling. Probably, I would suggest, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I would probably get a reel of doing everything and anything but wrestling. Doing the news, doing the weather, announcing a little league game, whatever. They're going to see headshots. It's just like if you try to get a job at Channel 9 or 5 or 4, whatever. Any of them. They're going to want to see your work. And it's really challenging to latch on and to figure out what they're doing. Because they're telling stories now. I was a play-by-play guy. I made you feel him as best I could, but I'm not that, oh my God, what a right hand, don't forget to download the app and forget Twitter. What the hell? That's like, a lot of people know that I'm a big John Wayne fan, have been since a kid. That would be like if you're doing a movie and they should have said, here comes John Wayne walking to his horse. Now somebody's going to say, cut. Here comes a guy and he gets on the horse. Instead, you got John Wayne. You got like 5 stuntmen and they're putting John Wayne on a horse. And he's like this, he's wobbling, and John Wayne's crying because he's afraid of horses. That's what it's like when you're going through, somebody's getting the hell beat out of them, and they're trying to make a hot tag, and man, look what's trending. And if you call WWE Shop before midnight, you get a free shirt or whatever. So that's just not my style. And hey, look, they're the biggest game in town. I'm glad they're not the only game in town. When Nitro went belly up, it was not good for the business. It provided fewer places for guys to go make a good living, to take care of their family. But I'm all for Impact doing well, and Ring of Honor, wherever else. That guy. So that's the deal. You gotta understand, you can't go to, somebody said, if I'll send you a tape, can you teach me how to be you? And I said, you don't want to be me. You want to be you.
I think there's also something to be said for having a plan B, especially in a business completely subjective. And the non-push of Dolph Ziggler has made life so much easier for me to explain. Because now anytime like one of my kids asks me a question about life, I answer by going, Dolph Ziggler can't get a push. I can't explain anything. Because it is subjective. You have to have that plan B. And I give you the greatest example I have of having a plan B. Once upon a time, in 2004, I had that relationship with Mr. McMahon where I'd call up, I said, I have an idea, and the next day I'd be in his office pushing it personally to him. And in 2004, I sat down and I said, Vince, here's the thing, I haven't wrestled in 4 years. What if I were to enter the Royal Rumble and win it? And because I'm not associated with either Raw or SmackDown, we would have a 3-way, and I'd win that and become the undisputed heavyweight champion. He looked me right in the eye and said, I have no interest in doing that whatsoever. I said, in that case, I've got an idea for me and Randy Orton. Which went on, like I said, to be probably the best thing I've done in the business. So I have a plan B. All right, so we got 3 questions. Somebody's going to be the bad guy. Come out here. 3 questions left, and you're going to pick them out, okay? Jim, 3 questions. Yeah, you're going to pick the guys out. Come on out here. A lot of pressure.
Hey, he's got shirts on.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll see if there's this guy's one of them. We need a female perspective. Another one. We've only had one. And then the fogger. There's a young lady right there. All right, so, all right, let's go this man. the female perspective, and then third question,
That's surprising.
we're gonna go with somebody wearing a Cactus Jack shirt that's not a bootleg. No, we'll go with the Warrior shirt, okay. All right, so we go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do our meet and greet. Everyone had a good time? There we go. Okay, so your turn, sir.
Thank you both for tonight. JR, your speech inducting Terry Taylor at the Cauliflower Alley was a great speech. You talked about what the Russians did to him. I wonder if you could tell us about your line that you talked about that night. Was that off the cuff, or did you have that line planned? I don't want to give a line away, so if you could tell us about that.
You know that third over the top rope?
Yeah,
Oh.
with the chains. And also about the Cauliflower Alley, where do you guys think that's going in the future as far as taking care of older restaurants?
Well, I'll tell you, the Cauliflower Alley Club is probably one of the better kept secrets in the wrestling business. I don't know how any of the boys that are in the wrestling business can look themselves in the mirror and say they're not a member. Because they may need the Cauliflower Alley Club someday to help them. Unfortunately, unlike Mrs. Foley's baby boy and JD and Liz's boy, me, when you grow up poor ass in eastern Oklahoma in a 4-room concrete block house that used to be a dairy barn, and you didn't have an indoor bathroom until you was in the 4th grade, and this ain't no Toby Keith song, this is my story. You learn the value of $1. And I worked my ass off to get good at something. And luckily enough, I got my dream, I don't know if this was my dream job, but my dad, before he died, said, well, my boy ran away and joined the circus and has never come home. And then that one year I showed him my check, my end of year earnings for WCW. And he looked at the withholdings and thought it was my year to date. Damn, that's a lot of money. I said, yeah, and I started saying, I said, I think the withholdings are like $70,000 or something. And he said, damn, son, I never dreamed in my life I'd ever make $70,000. I said, Dad, that was my taxes. Look over here at this number. That's the best number. Then he said, okay, you got to be honest with me. I mean it. Old man, it was rough. I was no problem. Are you the mafia? No, I'm not the mafia, Dad. I'm a wrestling announcer. So, and been a lot of them come from here in Adair County. So, I'm one of the few ones that have done this. Cauliflower Alley Club is a non-profit organization where the people don't even pay that work there don't get paid. They don't pay their own travel. They don't pay their own hotel. They raise money and they give money to wrestlers, families, and wrestlers to pay rent, to pay a hospital bill, buy food, to pay that tuition for that one more semester of one of their kids' college or something like that. So the Cauliflower Alley Club is caulifloweralleyclub.org. So if you're kind of a wrestling geek like I am, check it out sometimes. And I think it's $20 for a year. 25? It's $500 for a lifetime. I'm not saying you got to do that. You got $25 down the road. You don't know how many people that 25 might help. It might buy Christmas presents for some wrestler that you loved as a kid's family or grandkids that you don't even know about. So Terry Taylor was involved. We had this big angle with Eddie Gilbert's group. Sting was in that group. Rick Steiner, I think, might have been in that group, the Heels. And then the Russians, they had the Russian thing. Crusher Khrushchev, that was pretty creative. Crusher Khrushchev. Wrestling promoters love, what is it called when you do the start? Alliteration. Every wrestling promoter I've ever known, and McMahon is the worst, love alliterations. And they hate last names. So that's why J.J. Dillon lasted so long at WWE in my old role as a VP of Talent Relations, because He didn't need a last name, and he had an alliteration, JJ. JJ, get in here. No last name. Eddie Gilbert got thrown over the top rope and got his neck caught in the top between the second and third rope. And then they wrapped the chain, because you know all Russians named Khrushchev carry chains. They have to, it's part of their heritage. And they wrapped the chain around him and they pulled the chain back, and the commentary said something to the effect that, oh my God, look at Terry Taylor, he's double hung. And so I said, it made him the most popular baby face in the whole territory. Because all the women knew that Terry Taylor was double hung. Were you there at Las Vegas?
No.
Were you really? Well, good for you. Thank you for coming. And I really, no kidding, you should all check it out. They have the convention once a year. They have one fundraiser a year. You're not going to get emails from them. They're not going to bug you. You're going to get one thing a year, and that's to either join or renew not your vows. You do that too. Your dues, and then go to, and it's in Vegas. It's a nice little tax write-off.
That's where we met.
Really? No. Anyway, it's a good organization. We had a great time.
All right. And now we have the young lady there, and who are we going to wrap it up with? Who do we say gets the last word? Warrior shirt. Okay.
Warrior.
Go ahead there.
There are a lot of families in the wrestling world, and you mentioned your son really loves WWE, so how do you feel about your children following your joining the wrestling?
Yeah.
Your son's working for WWE?
Well, my daughter's already interned for WWE, and I said I love the company. I would love like my one son to be on the creative end. He really loves video. I'd love for my oldest son to be the marketing end. That's what he loves. Like, it's a great company. Wrestling's tough, It's really tough because the toughest thing is knowing how subjective it is. Not baseball where you hit 300 and move up. It's just one or two people deciding whether you have it or whether you don't.
Dolph Ziggler.
Like Dolph Ziggler. Yeah. I would really encourage go to school. That's the deal. Same thing that my parents told me. Same thing Dominic DeNucci, my trainer, told me is I'll teach you if you stay in school. So I'd be really uneasy about it because it worked out better than I could have expected in my wildest dreams. But obviously there's a price to pay for it, even though I'm moving around almost cat-like. It's mostly an adrenaline rush that will subside. But there's a price to pay for what we do, and it makes me feel kind of bad to see my kids paying that kind of price. But I want them to do whatever it is that makes them happy.
You got to say that, and you got to give everybody a chance. Well, you do. You want your children to have it better than you. We all do. But the issue is that Mick told you about going to some of these little territory things, and then going to having a gig in Japan, and then Dallas, where he saw the Von Erichs, Kevin, was the only one left. That's a sad story. And Gary Young, these guys, well, there aren't any of those places anymore. You can go to Japan, you're going to make a whole lot less money. It's not big like it used to be there. There's no more WCCW, there's no more WCW, there's just really one major place to make any money. So if you push, let's put it this way, if you push your children to become a wrestler, when you know that the life expectancy, your shelf life, is going to be really, really short, and then they got to go do something else, it's a hard decision for a parent to make. Me, I was lucky, my two daughters had no desire to even watch or to be involved. And because I would not have vouched for them at all. I don't want them in the ring taking bumps. The divas today it's a short deal. It's a short little lifespan, man. Then what do you do? What do you do when your dream job ends and you're at the ripe old age of 32? It's tough.
In my case, I sat down and wrote 2 New York Times #1 bestsellers. It's difficult, after you live out that dream to find that next thing that made a lot of it.
Here you are.
I'm finally here, like, this makes me feel the way I used to feel when I was in the ring, but it was a long time trying to find that, and for a long time trying to find it through wrestling, coming back in front of that crowd, and then after those, 12, 15,000 people who chanted your name, it felt kind of hollow.
On the roller coaster, chanting his name.
But I would discourage it. But the best way to make sure that your children don't listen to you is to forbid them to do anything. So I would encourage them not to. I'd encourage them to have that plan B, to approach it realistically, and if they were lucky enough to make it, to try to teach them to appreciate everything that's going on while it's taking place, because inevitably, everyone thinks they've got it bad. Even guys on top don't realize, how much fun they should be having until it's over. So there's a lot of lessons you learn in retrospect, but that would be what I would do. Now to wrap it up, you know how much pressure is on you, sir? Okay, a lot of pressure on you.
Because JR's here, I'll take my OSU hat off right now.
You're all right.
Back on!
Got my OU shoes on today.
First of all, thank you so much, both of you guys, for being here. It's been a great, great show, one of the best shows I've ever seen. And I just want to say that this is, for me, I love the Ross Report. I love that podcast. Everyone listen to the Ross Report?
Yeah! Well, it's worth exactly what you pay for it. It's free.
My question is, Nick, are you planning after this tour, are you planning on maybe going to Podcast One and trying to start something like that?
No, I get asked that a lot. I enjoy being a guest. Like, I love being on JR's show. Stone Cold and I are talking about, doing the segment. Love doing a JR show again. I tend to veer off. Like, even when I do these shows, wrestling's kind of my tether. And I can veer off into other subjects. This is a true story, that if you guys had come to see me, so the answer is no, and I'll conclude with this, all right? This is a good way, I think, to conclude this evening. If you had come to see